Hello and welcome to the Ridgeline Podcast. I'm Devin Dungan. I'm just kidding. I'm here with Devin Dungan as a special guest. He's guesting on my podcast, and this is actually one of the first of few episodes of the Ridgeline. We've been doing the new Ridgeline and DTM and such as that. This is going to be an interview with Devin Dungan, and he's a drummer. He's a session musician that played on this album, and so we're going to get into it now. So the first question is, so Devin, how did you originally get roped into doing this recording session in the first place?
Well, it was a thing. Obviously, Steven he just could not function in the studio atmosphere. And he did several albums himself before, and he just could not function. And he called me and said, I want you to write songs for this album. And I was like, well, if I have to come down there to write these songs, I'm going to take full credit for them. And I want my name plastered all over this album. And pretty much I came down and wrote this entire album by myself in about 2 or 3 hours, and it's a great album because I was involved in it. So yeah, I was roped into it because of just overall incompetence. So that's an answer to that question.
All right, and that's pretty interesting. You seem to be pretty, peed off at the whole subject of this album to begin with. So
it's a great album because I was involved.
So furthermore, next question. So if you came in and wrote for the album, how did you come to actually play drums on the album?
Because I ran the show. I was the producer on this record. I personally fired Ted Templeman myself and told him to scram. That this was going to be my album, and Steven had nothing to do with it other than influence here and there. But I mean, basically, when I joined the band, I took it full control, and I brought the people in that I wanted to play on this record, and that's the reason the album turned out as well as it did, because I was involved. So there's your answer to that.
Okay. Yeah. There's a good bit of animosity with you.
Yes, it is animosity because I don't get the credit I deserve on this album. This is my solo album, pretty much.
So the band name. So the next question will be, how did the band name come to be about, and why do you think that you weren't given enough credit? Because in the description, you were it's added Devin Dungan and Stephen Mott have credited as such. So So first of all, how did the Texas Brothers name come about?
Well, that was a copyright that I had, and I sold it to Stephen Mott for $15 million. And I told him if the name ended up on the album, that I would get every bit of the money that was made from it. And I've never received a penny off that album because it's never been officially released with the intent of making money off of it. So, I mean, Texas Brothers was copyrighted for me through Johnny Van Zant, who had come up with that name for a project me and him was working on called Uncle Pigskin. And it never did happen. So I don't know what else to say. I mean, I just don't know. So there you go.
All right. So you seem to be kind of repeating that statement. I just don't know.
I don't. I just don't know what you people think I am. I mean, you people act like I'm some idiot, and I'm not. I'm not an idiot. I'm smart. My mother told me I was.
So, next question. And one more question, and then we're going to get into the actual track listing. There were 11 tracks on the album, and it was called SAFBII. Now, furthermore, Devin, I would like to ask you now, how did the name of the actual album come about?
Because that's exactly what I told Steven one day during recording to go do that. And I'm not going to say what the album is actually called. There's a reason that it's abbreviated or abbreviated. I mean, there's a reason for the season. So there you go.
So you had nothing to do with the actual naming of the actual album.
No, I just told you I did. You need to listen, whoever this is talking.
My name is Ronald D. Mercer, and I'm the interviewer, so that's my name. Thank you.
No, your name is going to be interviewed today because you're not going to be allowed to use your full name. So you take that and shove it.
Well, okay. Now let's move on.
No.
To...
I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. No. No. Don't laugh at me. Don't laugh at me, pal. I'll sue you just as fast as I sue everyone else. You're not gonna mess with me. So I'm continue.
So we're going to move on to the next. Well, we're going to move on to the tracks now. So
Okay.
now, first of all, I would like to say there are like I said, there are 11 tracks. The typical album has 9, 10, or 11, somewhere in that range. Now, Devin, as a whole for this album, do you actually like the songs, the way it is the songwriting on the album?
Yeah. I mean, I wrote it, so yeah, I'm proud of it.
Okay, so and the next question would be leading into the album. The last question will be, so how do you think? What do you think about how the album came out as production wise, and who did the mixing for this album?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't know.
Oh, all right. So we're gonna get into the track listing.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Now, track number 1,
Okay.
Ain't Coming Home.
Yeah.
So tell me about how this song, because I've heard the story goes that this was the very first track off of this album that was actually thought of about to be written, and that kind of started the idea of doing this album in the first place. So is that true?
Yeah. I mean, I come up with this idea of this song by leaving my ex-wife, and I left her for another woman, and I came up with the idea of this song because of that. And it's just self-explanatory. I'm not coming home again, and she took everything I had except for the money I had hid in my backyard. Oops, I shouldn't have said that, but regardless, the money's not there anymore. But I mean, it's about not coming home, and I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, there's nothing. This is not high level intelligence. This is ain't coming home. I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back home. So there you go. That's the answer.
All right. So yeah, I like the way that that you told kind of the feeling and the story behind the songs. So I think we're gonna follow that mantra, behind all the songs.
Hold
as we
on.
get to them.
Hold on. No, you need to stop talking. I'm the guy that's being interviewed. You need to stop talking here. I wrote this song, and it's a good song, I think. And just some more information. When I brought this song to Supreme Court to use as their theme song, and they refused to accept it because they said it didn't make sense to their qualities and views, and I just don't know. I just found it hard to accept, and that they didn't accept this song. And it just, when I brought Gerald Turner in to play the guitar on this song and play the lead, I had to dictate how exactly he played on this song because I had a certain way I wanted it done. And I mean, I've played guitar for 17 years of my life, and I know enough about guitar, just an A note playing up and down the fretboard with that A note. And I think that the A note that's used in this song, which is ain't coming home, A in ain't coming home, that's a genius move. And I like that kind of element. And yeah, I just don't know. So yeah, I like the song. Steven he never played this song at all. He told me he refused to do it. This was not his grand design for this song, and I just don't know. I mean, it's a song, and I wrote the song, so it's a song. So there you go.
All right. So, well, we'll move on. Well, actually, before we move on to the next track, I would like to say that
Okay.
I believe that the first track actually is an A. So actually, it's an A minor. So that's actually true.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, of course,
Yeah.
but I have no comprehension of music whatsoever. I'm just an interviewer. But
Yeah. I know.
anyway, see, and before we move on to the next track, I would like to ask this question.
Okay.
There has been a rumor, very large rumor, and a conspiracy theory that a lot of people think that Gary Rosington actually played lead on this whole album because it sounds a lot like him. So tell me, is that true?
No. I played lead on most of it, and I played a Gibson 335 ES 355 amp 5150, and at the time they were doing OU812, and I went to Eddie Van Halen and played this riff for the song, and he said, "Wow," and he helped me out with feeding the effects that are on the overall song, and that's how I got the song to be what it is. And no, Gary Washington didn't play on this song, and he didn't play on this album. I cut ties, so yeah, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. So yeah, I mean, I don't know where you got your information at. If I don't know who may have told you that, if it's who told you anything. So yeah, what I'm saying is the truth, nothing but the truth. Yeah, you have the right to remain silent. Yeah.
Okay, so
Oh
I
yeah.
guess that was the
Yeah,
end of that question.
that is the end of it. Yes. Yes, that's all I have to say.
All right, so track number
Yes.
2.
Oh
One
yeah.
more car, one more rider.
Oh yes.
3 minutes and 46 seconds long.
Oh yeah.
So, um, for this one, I did notice a thing where in the reviews for this album, people say that this this
Oh
song was
yeah.
particularly kind of old school sounding, like from the
Oh yeah.
70s.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
do you agree with that sentiment?
No. This is modern rock at its finest. I mean, OMC is the actual title for this song. This is, I don't know where you got one more car, one more rider at, and I think the song is genius. I wrote this song with Eddie Jackson, and he wrote the lyrics, and I wrote the guitar part for this song, and eventually there was a big lawsuit, and I basically took the song from him, and I ended up writing all the lyrics for this album. So he didn't really write much of anything, but I mean, yeah, I think the song is creditable, and it was a good single, good choice for a single. It went #1, and it went double platinum and triple platinum. So I love the song. I think the song's great, and it's a great global song. It just tells about the world and just kind of the economical aspects of the world that we live in. So I think in that case, I mean, it was good track, and playing guitar on that was very easy. I just strummed a single C chord, and C was what the car stood for in the title, OMC OMR. It's the C chord, and I love playing on a C chord. I just pick up the guitar and I strum it, and it goes down, and that's it. That's the C chord, and I wrote that song using the C chord. So yeah, I really like the song.
Well, it's been a general consensus that the song is actually an A.
No, it's a C.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there
So
must have been
whatever
a
I say,
pitch translator or something, was there, in the
yes.
production?
Yeah, that we had a guy named Jim that he took it and he translated it for us. Because originally we had written it in Spanish and Japanese, and we had just translated that to the C chord. So yeah, it was originally going to be called Nothing But the Blues, but I changed it. So yeah, I changed it because I just it was nothing but the blues on this song. And I was like, okay, well, one more call, one more rider makes sense, and so I changed it. It's a lot better.
All right,
Oh
so
yeah, oh yes.
now I would like to ask you a question.
Okay,
Now,
okay,
before we get to the next track,
okay,
before we get to track number 3 of
okay.
11, so
All right.
who actually produced this record and mixed it?
Well, we'd spoke to at one time or another. We had spoke to a guy named Reginald Alex Kaluta, and he was going to produce this album. And Ted Templeman at one point was to produce. Eric Clapton was one point to produce, and we had Eddie Money to produce. Gary Rossington, Eddie Van Halen, Sammy Hagar was a temp. He was actually my original choice as vocalist before I took over. And then we actually were going to have the band Boston be the backing band on this album. But we at one point or another we had Motley Crue come in to do some vocals on this album, and this was in 1994. So yeah, 1994 this album was out, and we put this album out in 1994. So 1994 was when this album came out. So I mean that means we put it out in 1994. So yeah, I mean it's good year. 1994 is a good year, good album, great song, and yeah, I ended up producing it because I thought I was the king. I needed to do it. It was my job. So yeah, jam.
All right, so
Yeah, yeah.
now one more question. One more
Okay,
question
long
about
black
this.
limousine.
So now, there's a lot of questions with the general public
Yeah,
about who the actual singer is, because you have publicly acclaimed that Stephen Mott had nothing to do with the recording of this album, but on the previous records, um, you know, such as Jason Plays the Blues, um, you know, all those other records, it sounds a lot like, it sounds just like him. So did y'all happen to do like Molly Hatchet and just find someone else that just sounds just like him? Or how? I mean, who actually sung on this record, according to you?
Well, actually, I sang most of the vocals on this album, and all the vocals were on me. I did the vocals on this, and I just said the singer has to go, and I basically detuned my vocals to make me sound like Steven. And it was a very thought-provoking process, and it was a time-consuming process. And I think that was a great part of the play. And I'll just sing these are the original lyrics here called I'm limp wristed. I'm also a little bit twisted. I know she loves me. She just doesn't want me to see. Come on, sweet Rita Mae. You just got to pay. She's out of love again, and now she's back in her sin. Come on, baby, and get a glimpse, hanging by a thread. Get a glimpse, the nails are on the bed. Get a glimpse, I want something said. Get a glimpse, ain't nothing heavier than lead. Come on, baby, get a glimpse. Heads I win and tails you lose. Come back home, baby, and I'll blow your fuse. I know you're in for real, but there's no such thing as a raw deal. I'll find me another way to get you back today. I want some more, and I have something in store. Come on, baby, and get a glimpse, hanging by a thread. You get it. That was the original lyrics called OMRCPE, and that was called One More Rider Car Ride. So yeah, that's it.
All right. So
Yes.
on to track number 3. Sweet Lady Love. So I'm looking at some of the lyrics, and you claim that you wrote all the lyrics for this record, right?
No.
Okay, so what actually is the story there?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote all the lyrics, and pretty much I took a song I had called Godzilla versus Kong, and I just it was a hard lyrical concept, and it was about Godzilla and Kong, and so I rewrote the lyrics for a song called Big Cadillac, and I thought the lyrics were stupid, so I came up with Sweet Lady Love, and thought that was good, and I wrote all the lyrics for this album, and this song was not written by me, but it was actually, so yeah.
So
Okay.
there's been a general rumor that, Stephen Mott actually pushed this record to be actually, the lyrical thing to be Big Cadillac. So, and there was apparently a big falling out and a big thing in the studio over this, and apparently there might have been some physical contact. So, is this true?
Well, when he was going to produce at one point or another, I just got so sick and tired of just the way he was doing, and he had at one point or another been attached to play on the album, and I had written the lyrics to this, and he said, "Well, we're going to keep it the old way," and I said, "No, we're not." He's like, "Yes, we are," and I was like, "No, we're not." He's like, "Yes, we are," and I was like, "No," "No, no, 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 it's not going to happen, no," and that's it. I mean, I told him no, and I punched him in the face about 5, 6 times, and I threw him through the studio soundboard system. Just he pulled a knife out, and I defended myself, and I threw him through a table, and I took a big 2x4 and beat the crap out of him with it. And he just started throwing stuff. He hit people with stuff, and he was a very, very frantic person. And I don't understand his issues. I know he did have issues at some point or another, and he's a very mental person, and he's quite the lark. And yeah, he's insane. And I banned him from the studio. I barred him. I told him he couldn't come back until he got his act together. And he told me he would never speak to me again, and he has. So yeah, I mean, he's a great guy. Thank you.
All right. So,
Oh yeah.
seems like you still have a lot of anger built up from this.
Oh, I'm not angry on this interview. I'm happy.
Oh, so
Yeah.
now this has been released pretty
Yeah.
recently, about let's see, about a
Oh.
month
No,
ago,
no.
I
Oh, hold
think.
on a second.
So,
Hold on a second. No, it's not. It's not. It has not. I mean, we recorded this in 1988, and they were making OU 812, And I started back recording it again in 1994, and then I re-recorded it in 1988. So in 1994 we put it out, and in 1980 it actually went gold. And in 1986 they were doing 5150, and I went to Eddie Van Halen and showed him this album, and he said he liked it. And I took it and re-recorded everything in 82, and they were doing Black Sabbath, Live Evil, and I recorded it then and put some background vocals, and finally it got released in 1987. So yeah, so 1994 it was when it was originally released.
Okay, thanks for
Yeah.
clarifying that.
Oh yeah.
But furthermore, so a question about drums. So you actually did play drums on this whole record, right?
Entirely by myself. No more blues. I mean, I am the only drummer in the world, and if I can't play, then no one else can. And yeah.
Okay, so question about the drumming, just to clarify that. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
So do you do you listen back to this album and really think that you played drums flawlessly, or do you think you made any mistakes? Because there have been a lot of people, and that a lot of writers especially, that say that there are a lot of drum mistakes and just kind of missed snare hits and stuff. Of course, I don't know anything about drumming. Again, I'm the interviewer, but so you're the master drummer. So I figured you would know what that was talking about, and there seems to be like a thing with the production too. So, what are your comments on that? That the fact that critics are saying that you made a lot of mistakes.
Well, I actually, when I was seeing Jason Goes to Hell in 1993, I had realized that everybody was the same. And I went out and bought 15 gallons of pickles and re-recorded this album. And it's a very, very unique process. I remember it like it was yesterday. And it was awesome.
It has been conspired as well that you're actually the same person as Sammy Hagar. Is that true?
Where do you get your information at, son? I mean, there is a new level of retardation when you come looking and talking like that toward me. I mean, I am spectacular. I'm perfect, and I am nothing but the truth. And everything must go my way. So, yeah, there you go.
All right. So there is, it is listed in some copies, like in the Japan release of this CD. It's actually listed that Paul Stanley adds backing vocals and co-writes on this
Oh
album.
man,
So
you're gonna get me
is
mad.
that true?
You're gonna be getting me mad here on this one. Then I took the guitar and I played some songs for him, and we recorded background vocals by Sammy Wade, and Sammy Wade was a English banjo player, and he played banjo in Northeast England, and he was from Massachusetts, and he was born in England. So, yeah, there you go.
All right. So
Yeah.
for that question, thanks for clarifying that.
Oh.
And through your whole little rant there, you kind of seem to be wandering off. Um, it just kind of seems to me that you're still kind of just pulsating, and you're shaking, and you're kind of mad.
No, there's no madness going on at all, and
And
I don't know where people like this are getting to it, and I just don't understand it. Just don't know.
okay, so the further
Yeah.
question is, you have been credited as co-writing several songs with Paul Stanley, and you have a very close friendship with him. As the public, from the public eye. So it begs the question. There's been a long rumor that that Paul Stanley is not really a man. So can you clarify that?
No.
So, I mean, you mean no, that he's not a man, or?
No, yeah.
So, okay, that people, you heard it here first. One of his closest friends has confirmed that he is actually not a man. So,
Yeah, he's a guy, yeah. Yeah.
okay, so anyway, only one more question for Sweet Lady Love.
Okay.
So some of the lyrical content here, I'm looking at it. I'm going to quote some of this.
Okay.
So, and just be by my side and just ride the ride. It's 1,000,000 miles a day. And there ain't no way I hear him say altogether the blues ain't bad. So a lot of critics are saying that these lyrics are by far the best two poetical lines in a song in 30 to 40,000 years ever. And so, and you're up now for the best songwriter of the year in the rock genre. So, was your intention originally for this to be, kind of award-winning type lyrics, or was this just kind of just, blowing off steam and just putting something down in 5 seconds?
No comment.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to the next track. And the next track is going to be Secondhand Night. And Stephen Mott has publicly said that Secondhand Night was completely of his own creation, that no one else, especially Devin, as he says, had anything to do with the writing, recording, mixing, producing, anything of. That he takes sole credit for this, and most people believe it because it has a different sound than the rest of the album. So the rest of the album has kind of the Devin imprint, if you will, as the critics call it. It's kind of a popular mantra now. It's called the Devin imprint. So, I mean, do you think that? I mean, first of all, is that actually true that did you have anything to do with the writing of Secondhand Night at all?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I mean, yeah, no comment.
So you refuse to talk about it. So
I just talked to it. I said no comment. Can you hear?
um, okay, so what's gonna happen next? Are you gonna go out and take a shotgun in the backyard and then shoot it at a snake?
Well, why would you say that? I mean, that's stupid. What kind of what is this? Why? Why would you tell me this?
So another question about Secondhand Night.
Oh,
So people say a lot of people on the street I've interviewed a lot of people in my articles, and they are saying that there's a lot of drummers I've talked to, and they say that the ride cymbal is way too predominantly used in the song, and they criticize you for doing so. And but I would like to ask you in general, what were you aiming for with the drum style of this record? Were you going for more of a loud sound, or were you going for more kind of a mellow drum sound? Or elaborate on that.
well, the drums that I recorded on this album were based out of East Asia, and I used a lot of Asian sensibilities recording on this record. And I remember 1922, and I went to see the movie 25, and I just did not know how to play drums at that point. and I figured out how to play drums by taking ancient ninja practices outside of East Asian countries. And I became a stealthy drummer. And yeah, no comment.
All right. So you're saying you pretty much completely say that everything you did on this album you stand behind, and you wouldn't change anything about the record musically.
The only thing I would change about this record is not having this interview right now. So there you go.
Well, that's not actually part of the record.
I know it is.
Oh, so you're saying that y'all are planning on releasing a box set of this record in 20 years that has this interview on one of the discs. Is that what you're
No,
saying?
no, why would I do that? Why? No comment.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next track. We're on to 1, 2, 3, 4, number 5. So this is the first instrumental of the record, and so a lot of people say that you don't actually play guitar at all. So if you say that Stephen Mott had no involvement, then who played guitar on this instrumental called Cosmic Lightning? It's only 51
Me,
seconds long.
me. I wrote this song the day that I was born.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on, why that you chose to? Okay, so there are several instrumentals on this record. Let's see, there are three, I believe. There is OU 813, uh, Coffee Colored Cigarettes, and this one.
Yeah.
So, what was did you draw influence from anyone in particular of having the instrumentals on the album?
Life.
Okay. Um, so what I took from that is that you drew influence from Eddie Van Halen, from the album called 1984,
No,
because he had several
oh,
instrumentals.
oh, I said life. You not get it.
Okay. So a lot of people, when I say a lot of people, I interview tens of thousands of people every day.
Good.
That is my job, and I have solely for the past 2 weeks focused on this album. And the general consensus of people that rate, one of the questions I ask, these people are, I ask them the same questions, and I ask them what are their rating for this album, and they say that the general consensus is 9 out of 10. They say this particular song is the best song on the record, and they say that they don't think that Devin actually played, the guitar on this record. They think it was actually Stephen Mott. So, now I think that would probably infuriate you. So I'm going to let you loose, and you're going to tell us about, this fight in the studio. Wow, because there's obvious background noise in some of these recordings, and there's rumor that it was cut out, but Stephen Mott has publicly came out and said that you repeatedly throughout the recording session during the songs kept on yelling out, "I just don't know." You're just a vein to everyone's existence. Furthermore, Polyester,
Oh.
track
Oh.
number 1, 2, 3, 4,
Oh.
5, 6.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
so 5 minutes and 3 seconds. So now,
3 seconds long, man. That's a short song.
so what happened with this was, now tell the story about the original version, and that you actually tell there was a story that, you know the producer came publicly out and said this, that you threw Stephen Mott out of the studio because you said that his actual original riff sounded just like a Leonard Skinner, uh, working for MCA riff. So you actually threw them out, and then you actually redone the riff yourself, and that's what this is. So elaborate.
Uh, well, uh, just don't know.
So is this story true or not?
Yeah, it's not true.
Okay, so most of the stories I'm talking about here are never true. They're all conspiracy and they're not true.
Oh, no, they're half true.
Oh, okay. So
No.
the next question would be the song Polyester Love. It's very drawn out and has a lot of, it's like a jam track toward the end. It has a lot of soloing and what was your thought process behind the decision to make this drawn out and your decision to play the solo instead of having Eddie Van Halen on? A lot of people are criticizing because they say if Eddie Van Halen was right there, then why didn't you let him play the solo if it was going to be 3 minutes long? So, what are your comments on this subject?
I've done said.
Okay, so the final question about polyester.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm gonna look at the lyrics here, and if you will, just tell me what was the actual story behind this song, if anything. What was your thought process behind the writing of the song?
Well, I had been through 3 trips over to Kansas, and I had left the country for 2 weeks and made it to Kansas in 20 minutes and wrote this song in Kansas. And Kansas is a great country. And I left there and went to Turkey and played Turkey. And it was a great time. Great time. And I remember it. I heard yesterday. Yeah. It's a good song. Great song.
All right. So I noticed that it's very slowed down, and there's been a demo version released as well that Stephen Mott, Against Your Will, has released. His own versions of this album, and upon further review, it seems like that the other version is much faster and this one is much slower. So why did you want to slow it down a lot? Was it because you
Because
wanted to take up room, or was it just because it went over better that way?
I think it just didn't go over. And I think when something doesn't fall over, you have to push it. So yeah,
All right. So just
yeah.
one more about polyester, and we'll move on.
Okay.
So in the chorus, the last line says, "Why don't you say, baby, one more time?" Um, and a lot of people are saying that those are very thought-provoking lyrics, and that this is very kind of making it a sexualized song. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it is. No.
So,
Sure.
is that what it means? Or
Yeah. No. 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 That's not it. It's about being faithful and remembering who you are and being grateful for what you have and taking life and running with it. So that's what it's about.
okay,
Yeah.
and so if you're ready, we'll move on to the next
I've been ready.
track.
Yeah.
All right, Burning Alive.
Yeah.
So, first of all, a burning question among the critics. Um, so there was a particular lyric. I think you might know what's coming. There's a particular lyric in the first verse of the second part of it, and it says, um, "I must make the meat for the glamorous suit." And so the word meat is actually spelled M-E-E-T and not M-E-A-T. But um, can you can you explain yourself as to
It,
why?
It's
these
not.
lyrics were there.
It's not suit. It's sweet. Sweet, not suit. Sweet. I mean, how stupid do you have to be? Know that word is suit. I mean, sweet.
Well,
Yeah,
it's spelled SUIT, so.
that's sweet. Sweet. SUITE.
But it's not listed as that. It's listed
Who
as
cares?
SUIT, and the sleeve for the album.
Who cares?
Okay, so, and another question. This was another one that was very drawn out, and rumor has it that Stephen Mott actually broke into the studio in the middle of the night, the day before that the master tapes were to be sent, and he actually added a whole another 5 minutes of soloing, and that when this actually came out, this was very against your will, and that you kind of publicly disowned him and said that you were going to choke slam him through the soundboard. So, uh, you know, what are your thoughts on why you had to be actually detailed about what you were going to do to him?
Because I mean, sometimes you have to attack people, and you have to present them with force, because force is just something that we all have to do, and you got to learn. Because I mean, as time goes through time, and it's always right there in your face. No matter what you think, what you thought, what you talk about, it's always there. So I mean, it's always something that we have to look out for. And yeah, there you go.
I noticed that there's a part that wasn't in the actual song. Actually, two parts: Bridge 1 and Bridge 2. And you know, I've heard that what happened
Yeah.
is Stephen Mott actually, when he broke into the studio in the middle of the night, he actually omitted those two parts and made it fit perfectly. And so is that true?
No, I took those parts out because I thought he was going to steal the parts for another song, so I took them out because he's a human wings. So yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
on to the next track. Let me get to
Okay,
it
great,
here.
amazing.
OU 813.
That's
Now
the instrumental.
the obvious question is
Ah,
that why were you taking major influence from the album by Van Halen called OU 812, or was this just a common misconception that this was any connection?
pizza. I'm starving to death. Pizza or something. Lobster or
Um,
something. Hey, I'm hungry. I need something right now.
so I
Coke,
think
juice, and soda or something. Something. I need something to eat.
what's happening here is that at this point, this is actually a narration that I've edited in between this interview, and what happened. What happened during this part of the interview
No.
is that Devin started actually having a mental breakdown because he hasn't let go of the fact that everything he says is a lie, because there had been multiple accounts, and including the record company deals, that this was a collaboration between him and Stephen Mott, but yet he continues to completely deny the fact. He's in complete denial. And so back to the interview. And so
Yeah.
next
Oh,
they
we haven't even
still
talked about the song. You need to let me talk.
all right.
No.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, I did the song and it's on the album. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
So was this particular track was this written for a movie soundtrack? Because
Yeah,
It kind of seems
for
like
the
it
movie,
was.
for a movie that I had written at the time called The Belong, and I had written a song, and the movie was written, and the movie didn't get made because I didn't belong there. So yeah, there you go.
So some I've talked to have actually compared you to David Lee Roth in the fact, in the sense that you like to, become a movie star. You have this obsession with leaving the band because
Oh,
you want to
oh no,
become
no,
a
no,
movie star.
no, 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 that's not what happened. I don't know what you people are talking about. That I'm just confused. I don't know, understand what you people have against me, why you people have it out for me. I've never done anything wrong, anybody wrong. You just need to shut up, leave me alone. Thank you.
So that's your message to the general public.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Public service announcement number 2.
I would like to skip back a track, um,
Okay.
to back to Burning Alive, just for one question. Um, so what was your approach to the guitar solo? Did you do this in one take, or was this multiple takes, and did you plan out the solo?
I spent 22 hours in the studio recording this material, and I ended up making the whole entire album within 2 hours. So yeah.
But I asked about the solo itself on Burning Alive.
Well, yeah, I recorded it in 2Ds.
Into disc?
2Ds.
Okay, I think he's okay. This is another narration. I think he's talking about two takes, but I'm not sure. So back to the episode. Okay. Um. So, so what we're gonna get into now is
Okay.
the next track after OU 813,
Okay.
True Love.
Okay.
So I'm gonna keep it simple with this one. So a simple question. Um. So how did the song start out? Did it start out with the riff? Did it start out with you writing lyrics? A drum rhythm? How did it start?
I started out with a rhythm on the bass, and I sported a Gost, and I redid the 22-piece orchestral part that was on this song, and redid it and done it live, and it's great. It's a great album, great song, great album, great song, great album. Yeah.
And speaking of album, before we get to the next tracks, before people get bored of this interview, I would like to ask you this. So there has been long rumors of an album coming out pretty soon, of another collaboration between you and Stephen Mott called "Survive the Night," because it's rumored that it's been advertised everywhere on billboards and everywhere that a single called "Survive the Night" is actually, going to be released on September the 29th of 2028. So, I mean, what? I mean, so this being the year 2027 and everything, why? Why do you think people think this? Because obviously, the way you're talking, it's obvious that there's no way that there's anything like this coming up. And the question is, did you have any involvement with the recording of "Survive the Night" itself, the
Well,
single?
yeah. I mean, it was like there's extremely interesting takes of this song that are in the vault, and we did it. 2 seconds.
All right. So
Yeah.
one more question about True Love. So was this song written about an actual experience of yours?
No.
So it was just something you just kind of came up with out of the blue.
No.
So you didn't actually write the song, you forged it from Stephen Mott.
No.
Okay, so this is the last time I'm going to do this. The narration, um, really, folks, I apologize because Devin is just completely off his rocker. I'm sorry, folks. He's just in complete denial that, and he even says, and later on in the interview, that there are actually 12 songs on the album. And this, furthermore, even proves that he's insane because there's 11. Go and buy the CD yourself. So back to the interview. Anyway, the next track, number 9 of 11. No,
Yeah,
excuse me, number 10.
12.
Okay, that's
12
interesting.
song. Yeah.
But okay, so number 10, coffee colored cigarettes. So, all right, I'm going to keep it simple again. So this song seems to be very short to the point. And this was actually released. For all the folks that don't know, this was released as a single, but it was actually for a soundtrack off of the soundtrack record for Halloween Kills. So those of you that didn't know that came out about 10 years ago. So what happened was it was on the ending credits, but it just blew up, and it actually, from the soundtrack, it actually became a #1 hit in Japan because they have a tendency to love this instrumental type stuff like Reptile, Eric Clapton. It was big over there too. So my question would be, Devin, was that your original intention for this song, for it to be, on that movie?
No. I wrote this song, and it took me 38 takes to do this song, and I recorded it in about 15 minutes. So, yeah.
All right. So that must have been a speedy recording session.
No. We recorded about 12 seconds probably, and we put it out there on the tribute album.
And anyway, so one more question about coffee colored cigarettes. So who came up with the name for this song?
Yeah, that was No.
Okay, so you have a band member named No.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. You're not listening to me, so yeah.
Okay, so can you tell us the whole actual band lineup and how many pieces? How big was the band? What was the general standpoint of the band for this record? Like, say the band members, if you will.
Okay, me. That's it.
Okay, so I'm going to skip back a bit because I forgot to mention this, but on Sweet Lady Love, there are backing vocals, and they seem to be double tracked. And again, I know nothing about music, but it seems like one is in the left ear and one is all the way in the right ear, upon my further inspection. And I just don't think it sounds like your voice, just quite simply, unless you auto-tuned it. So, did you auto-tune it, or is that you're just a liar, and that's not your real voice?
I recorded it twice and 2 times, and I found out about 15 minutes and 20 seconds 7, and I went out, took a recording test, and raised the roof. Great material.
So you claim that this was actually your real vocals for the background?
Yeah, I recorded it on a mic. Yeah, I recorded it on a mic.
So it in fact is double tracked, one in each ear?
No.
So it's not actually 2 different tracks, 2 different takes. It's just one of the same take, and then just doubled in each ear.
Yeah.
So it's doubled.
No.
But there are some slight differences because we have the technology now. I have a guy that he works in the studio, and he can actually single out these tracks, and he has proven that these are different takes, and that you've been proven a liar in this interview time and time again. We're going to move on to the next track. Embezzling money. So, the first question I would like to say is at the very end of the track, to end off the album, this is the 11th track. To end off the album, it has a shotgun sounding and a man laughing. So, can you explain the sound effects and why?
Yeah. I fired off a gun in the studio, shot a soundboard, and that was the producer laughing because he got hit by the debris, and he laughed. Thought it was funny.
So the next question, what was your overall goal for this album as a whole in mixing this record?
Well, I mixed it 22 hours. I finalized the deal in 2 days and singled out a producer for the record and me, and challenged the crazed people of the time are coming out, and they talked about they were going to find a way to really embezzle the money here, and I said, okay, whatever you want to talk about, and I said Star Mount, and they said, okay, we're going to do this, and I took the song and turned it into what it is today, and it's Texas. So Texas Brothers equals Texas money. So I love it.
So I would like to thank you, Devin, for being on this interview. See you next time.